Well, thank you so much for tuning in and happy Monday to you. Welcome back to the show. It's so great to have you join us. Kind of a different scenario when we're doing In the Loop on a Monday. I will tell you, this is probably the show that I look forward to doing each and every week. And every time I do, I think, oh, it's almost a weekend, but it's kind of taking us on a little bit of a loop here. So I'm so glad that you're here with us. Welcome also my friends at Modern Mom. And if you're watching on the replay, big hello to you as well. Welcome to the Loop with Winnie and Greg. I'm Winnie's son, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, Forbes contributor, and host of Level Up, which, as you know, can be found on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, to name a few. And of course, we're here live. But joining me is my co-host and buddy who, as you know, I talk about this all the time, sets me up on the hippest Amazon wish list, watch list ever, all the good things, the one and only Greg Nibbler. Hi, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Winnie. And yeah, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. In case you don't know, I'm Greg Nibbler. I've been a technology reporter for many years, covering all kinds of different aspects of it. But as Winnie mentioned, the Amazon wish list, I like to talk about some of the cool toys and interesting things that are coming out. We're going to be covering some of that here later on the show, too. There's another big tech event. It's like a season for that. Remember, last week we did our show. We talked about the new iPhone, and then we had Apple versus Android. You need to rewatch that episode if you have not seen it. It didn't turn out quite the way I thought it would. It's a very good episode. But we had that. And then this week, we're going to talk about some more stuff that are coming out for iPhone users, but also Microsoft with some big events that are happening. One in particular coming up later this week. We've got some robots. We've got some spaceships. We got all kinds of stuff that we're going to be covering, and that's coming up here in just a bit on the show. But since we are live, always love to hear those comments, and it's so much fun being a part of this and having everybody write us even after the show, whether you're watching live or watching pre-recorded or watching it, after the fact, however it is. Thanks for joining us. And we've got a lot of things to get to today, so please drop in those comments. But we always start off with Winnie talking to us and explaining what's going on in the world of finances. And I know there's a lot of concern going on right now. Again, I am not a financial expert. This is why I love that Winnie can break it down for us. But Winnie, I know earlier today, it didn't look great with some things.
Yeah, it wasn't too peachy, Greg. It started off kind of rocky. In fact, earlier today, some of you may have seen me on Fox News. Thanks so much for tuning in. When I started doing that with Mike, the market was down about 800 points. And then I thought, oh, goodness, what a way to start the week. But then it creeped up and it was down over 900 points. But I guess we got to take these silver linings where we can, Greg. And the market kind of recovered a little bit. The Dow closed down 614 points. I know, crazy. And the NASDAQ closed down 330 points. That is significant, especially those of you who are invested in technology like I am. And the S&P 500 closed down 75 points. So the Dow closed down over 900 points earlier today, which obviously is on track for the worst day since October 2020. So there's a lot of reasons why this happened, because you might be wondering why is the market dropping? Why did it drop so much today? Well, a lot of things happen. One of the things I want you to remember is, of course, because we are in a global economy, and today was a great reminder of that. So what happened was a big part of the drop today came actually from events that occurred outside of the United States, out over in China, because China was having one of their biggest real estate companies, a company called Evergrande, is in tremendous trouble. In fact, they've borrowed over $300 billion from over 100 banks. And today they actually were supposed to make payments. Well, they're defaulted. So they're having trouble making payments. They're even paying some of their investors back in real estate holdings. So all eyes are on that. People are speculating, that the U.S. government, well, not the U.S. government, the Chinese government would come in and bail them out or do something, because investors are very, very concerned. And because of that, the Hong Kong equities market saw a big sell-off today in the financial markets. And that, coupled with, first off, September is always naturally, historically, been a pretty tough month for the financial markets anyway. So September is usually bad anyway. So you get that. You got Delta, and you got the Federal Reserve Chairman's meeting starting tomorrow, ending Wednesday. So investors are definitely very skittish and very worried of what that's going to look like. Are we going to see increases in interest rates? Are we going to see the economy start to slow down? And are people really going to get back to work as normal? So a lot of things to consider. And because of that, you also saw a pretty dramatic pullback in the markets. Now, you might be asking what to do next. So I'm actually preparing quite a bit of content on that very soon to prepare you for just that. And I have a seminar coming out that we're doing at several companies virtually, talking to employees about what they need to do about their money going into the end of the year. So I'll definitely be sharing a lot of tips on that. But some of the things I think that we're paying attention to Tuesday and Wednesday with the Fed chairman meeting is number one is inflation starting to continue to get worse, and our jobs getting better, and are Americans still saving or are they spending more? And of course, a lot of eyes are on the real estate market too, because they're saying, real estate is just getting so much more expensive, and is it becoming overheated? So we'll see how that unfolds. But as another reminder that I think is never a good thing when we don't have security here, is we also don't know who's going to be our Fed chairman next year, because Jerome Powell is looking at his term actually officially ends next February, and they haven't named whether he'll be sort of renewed or if we're going to get somebody new. But of course, we had to move to something positive too. And so on a positive note, you may have seen Apple is having a great month, right? And you may have called it, but certainly our one and only Greg did call it, Ted Lasso for the win. So Greg, did you see this? You must have been so excited, because when I saw this, I was like, oh, Greg was totally right about this.
Yeah. And I didn't watch all of the Emmys, but I'll say the Ted Lasso part I thought was awesome. It's such a good show. It's just like and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I highly recommend it. It's one of those shows where you watch it, you feel good afterward. The characters are good. The writing's good. It's really funny. It's got drama. It's got a little bit of everything. And so for all of those people that won, every single one of them deserved it, and absolutely deserved those wins and the show itself. So that was really, really cool. That was cool to me.
It is really cool. And the cool thing is, so Apple this week has become the first streaming service to secure an Emmy Award. And I was actually surprised by that, because actually this is only Apple's, I guess, second year to be able to qualify for this. But Apple's having a big year, right? We just heard the announcement last week's show. Greg, I gotta tell you, last week's show, so many people wrote in. So many people I talked to were like, I love last week's show. But you've got more to share with us, right, in terms of Apple World. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we do. Well, we were talking last week, about iPhone. The new iPhone came out. They announced all that at the big Apple event. But something else that they announced was going to be coming out is the update to iOS. So the operating system on your iPhones. And if you have an iPhone and it qualifies for it, as long as it's fairly recent, you're going to be able to get it. You can now upgrade to iOS 15. So this is going to be adding in a whole bunch of new things to it. I kind of went through and took a look at what some of the highlights are, some of the things that I thought were cool. And there's so many on there. Honestly, you should probably go through and take a look on your own as well. For everybody out there that's watching, if you have a question, ask me specifically, but some key ones that I wanted to know. So this is, again, available to everybody free, just rolled out today. So you may have seen this pop up saying that you have a software update. If not, go to your settings and check it right there. One of the first ones I wanted to highlight that's an update has to do with FaceTime. And obviously, especially during this pandemic, everybody's become very familiar with FaceTime if you weren't before, and Zoom and every other way that we connect to each other. But FaceTime has always been an issue because it's really difficult for an Android or Windows user to partake in that. It's kind of like what we talked about last week when it comes to messages and adding on, the emoticons and the everything else that you can do with that, but Android users don't get to. Now they're going to open this up a little more to where you can invite people who are on Android or Windows machines to join a FaceTime call. That's a pretty big change from what Apple normally does. I mean, they usually like to keep things very Apple-y, very worked into that, right? Yeah, they do. It's just kind of how they operate. And this is, I thought, a pretty cool move to just acknowledge, like, okay, we got to open this up to more people if we want to keep growing this kind of a service, because online meetings aren't going anywhere. For sure. So this is something that they had to open up. So I thought that was pretty cool that now you can do that. You can invite people on other devices to join it.
So what do you think, Greg? Do you think this is going to like replace some Zoom users? Are they going to migrate over to FaceTime because it allows more people? And by the way, Sadiq is saying hi, and he's having he's really excited that you're talking about Apple products again.
Well, hi, Sadiq. I don't really think it's going to replace Zoom overall. It may replace some of those more personal meetings, as far as if somebody's on FaceTime and they got annoyed by the Android and Windows people and had to go over to another service to include them in. So that may open it up for a little bit of that. But even still, some of the features that they're adding into FaceTime, they've got some more spatial audio features to where it'll make it sound like somebody's coming from the specific side of the screen. And since this is just updated, I haven't had a chance to test this out yet, but they're going to try to make it seem more like you're in the room with someone, and everybody's working on those kinds of things. And also just with the cameras, as far as how it tracks people, some of those features are going to be available to use in Zoom also. So it's not like they're just going to make that exclusive in there. So I think they're acknowledging that Zoom's a power that's not going anywhere, at least not for now. So they're trying to, I think, play ball a little bit is what Apple's doing. So it's just going to be more inclusive.
More inclusive. I love that. Then we can actually bring in our Android friends onto our FaceTime. Hopefully, remember how Robin had mentioned last week, she's hoping for those emojis in Messenger comments. I'm hoping to see that too, but
Yeah, I didn't see any update on that, although they'll continue to roll some more things out. So maybe that's one that'll come along. One of the other things that will be coming to FaceTime is it's called, let me get the name right, Shareplay. So we've seen this feature in other apps already, but now they're bringing it to where if you're watching something, you can share that experience and watch something with somebody else through FaceTime, share different things from your particular device onto theirs. So again, more kind of making that unified experience to being like, okay, well, let's hang out together. You can do it, from either watching a TV show or a movie, even doing a workout. So if two people have Apple Fitness, they can share the workout and then do the workout at the same time. So that's going to be rolling out a little bit later this year, but adding more of those kinds of things in. So that's some interesting updates, I think, to FaceTime that you've got on there. There also is a couple more. Focus. So this is a new thing you can do. And Focus is the idea, we've probably all experienced this, where you get work messages outside of work hours, or you're getting personal messages during work time or whatever. We get so many messages. I have way too many on mine, way too many email addresses, and I should figure out how to scale that back sometimes. Well, if you're having that issue now, for Apple, for iPhone users, you can set this to focus. So you could say, I just want work messages during this time and only via these particular apps. So you can focus things like that. Or if you want personal time, you can put all those work ones in where you're not going to get those notifications until after. So, or fitness, you can just go fitness time, and then it'll just do whatever you want for that. Maybe you don't want anything coming through during your fitness time. So it's just a better way to kind of manage your device. You could probably go in and do that with each one specifically if you had to say, these are my off hours, this is off time, but this is just one button that you could be able to do that with. So it's kind of a cool way to just, I guess, temper down a little bit of what we get inundated with when we're trying to do something. So focus time for that.
That is cool, Greg. But what I'm thinking too is some of you may be listening and watching this, and I know a lot of brands and different media follow us. But here's what I'm thinking too, Greg. If it seems like one by one, Apple's fixing things and changing things so that we're reliant on less apps and more on our own devices having these apps. So Apple is, like for example, what you had mentioned with Focus, right? Sometimes we could set that up with maybe through Slack, or we could set it up through, Outlook or whatnot. But now Apple can control on top of that of what we actually see. So it's like, I feel like they're slowly kicking off more other productivity apps in the meantime.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, Apple is, as we've said, and every company wants you to be a part of their ecosystem, but Apple is certainly the best at it. And they see what people are doing. They follow along with what other companies do. And then if they're not innovating it themselves, they'll adapt it and just make it into their own. And bring it all under that Apple umbrella, all under that window, to where you have that device that's doing it. And then, in theory, it's more secure and all of the things that go along with it. So yeah, Apple's smart about that.
That's smart.
They are. Another couple of updates. One, just Safari, for those of you who use Safari on there. This is very much, I will have to say, in the browser battles which really comes down to Chrome and Safari. Sorry, Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft is there as well, but I think Chrome's the overall leader in it. Firefox, you got a lot of different ones, but Safari is adapting some of the things that are kind of along the lines with Chrome, with different tabs and the way that you organize things. So you can keep your windows a little bit more organized. So that's some features that are going to be coming there. So it's a tab bar that'll be at the bottom of the screen, and it's positioned there so you can swipe between tabs with one hand. And so Safari users, you'll get a little bit more of a user-friendly experience on there for that part of the update. The one I'm really excited about, though, that I think is cool, and it's one we talked about a few weeks ago, has to do with the Apple Wallet and some of the things that are coming to that.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's really cool how they're incorporating all this in. One of them being digital keys, which are not a new thing. I know you have them for your Tesla, that you can unlock things, with your app. But now you're going to be able to do that with more and more auto manufacturers. And it's going to work a lot easier. So it's using something called ultra wideband technology. So you can lock, unlock, you can start your vehicle even without removing your iPhone. So you can just have it in your pocket and have it set to do that right away. So that's part of the future, I think, of how keys are going to work for vehicles is along these lines. And Apple's not the only one doing it, but they've beefed it up quite a bit on this one.
Oh, that's good. Then I'm definitely going to update mine and see how that looks. Because one thing, Greg, I've been hoping they bring on to Wallet is just an easy way of organizing my vaccination card, right? Because right now you sort of have to, scan it, and it just should be a much more seamless way, kind of like the way Clear has set it up. So it'd be nice to see it on Apple Wallet and too. So I can't wait to download it. That's really cool. So this is as of live today, then.
Yeah, live today, live right now. I mean, it's funny you mentioned the health side of things. You are going to be able to share more information now securely with healthcare providers and people that you choose to share with. If there's somebody you want to send info to, you're going to be able to do that a lot easier through the healthcare updates. And I have to dig into that to see how everything's going to work with it. The vaccine card conundrum is a big issue just because of, how do you keep track of this? There isn't a national program for it. So really individual apps are going to be the way to keep that, but how to verify it. There's a lot there that unfortunately I don't think is figured out yet on how to really have just a verification process where you just scan it. I think that would be the ultimate goal, right? But a secure one. So your information's secure. Yeah, but it's verified. You go to a concert and then bing.
You're going to need it. I almost had a heart attack this past weekend, Greg, because I've been having to use my vaccine card. So my dad was in the hospital recently. In order to go in the hospital to see him, right, he's only allowed one visitor at a time. You had to show your vaccination card. Otherwise, you had to, get tested within like the last, I don't know, couple last day or something like that, or a couple hours. But so then I was bringing it back and forth, and then one day I misplaced it. I mean, at that moment, do you realize how important it is to have this stored? And having it stored in your phone would just be so much. Imagine going to a concert. I mean, how cool would that be? But then all of a sudden you realize because it was so crazy, you'll like drop your vaccination card. That'd be so stressful.
Oh, so stressful. And it's just a piece of paper too. I mean, what if you spill something on it? That's what I'm constantly worried about. Yeah, what to do with that. I've been to a couple of places where they allowed a picture of it on your phone. I just had an image of it. But everything's going to change so much on that. I hope that they come up with some way to digitally scan that in. That's not necessarily a part of what this one is, but it seems like it could work for that. So
I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm hoping. Yeah, because if anybody can figure that Apple, I think it has to do with a lot of political laws right now. But these are kind of things that are really important that I think will make our life a lot easier. Because if you can help me open my car, if I have all my important records right on me, so that the phone thing, Greg, I didn't want to ask you too because I saw them talking about this on Twitter. They were saying that they were speculating that Apple would be coming out with a folding phone. And I remember last week you had talked about how Apple kind of sits back, sees what other companies do. They think, okay, that's been adopted, that's been well received, and then they just make it better. What are your thoughts? Do you think that that's going to happen, Greg? Are we going to see a folding Apple phone in the future?
Yeah, I think we will see one. They'll definitely come out with some kind of foldable screen technology. Whether it's going to be next year or even the year after, that's kind of where the speculation part comes in. I think there will be one. once they see what people actually want and what people are willing to pay for, whether the features they want. And that's part of studying what everybody else does. And you have a lot of companies that are coming out with foldable devices. I mean, Samsung being probably the leading one, but TCL started, well, at least they had one in beta. I don't know if it actually rolled out or not. And forgive me, TCL, if I have that wrong. Feel free to send me one and I'll be happy to try it out. Then I won't forget.
Send two, Greg. Send two.
Two. We need two. So there's TCL, LG, a lot of companies working on those, including, just these new ones that Samsung had. But foldable kinds of devices are where things seem to be going. Whether people want, I mean, I know a couple of people personally who have gone out and got them, and they're pretty fun. I do like them. I've tried them out. I tried out the Samsung ones, both of them, and they're pretty cool. But there's just not a lot of people that have them yet. Like it's just not out there, and the price point's pretty high up there too. I think at some point you will see an iPhone bring one out. But I mean, just for you right now, being an iPhone user, is there anything you can think of that you would like a foldable device for? That you're like, oh, if only this screen folded, I could do this.
I mean, so that's a great point. I think it certainly would give us maybe more surface area, right? Instead of like, it would almost give you the size of an iPad mini if you were traveling, but it would be in your phone. I always think about travel because I think of like, this is such a great tool when you're out and about and you're not at home. So I would love to see something like that. And in fact, for those of you who are watching too, want to say a quick hello, actually, if I could jump in and say, Vicky, hello, CrossX Fighter, Joshua, hello, Sadiq, hello, and so many others, Modern Mom. We are also streaming on Amazon Live as we speak. So definitely check that out. And we put together some things that we saw, some accessories for Apple iPhone 13 that we're talking about. And Greg's going to talk about something really special coming up. So we're going to include some stuff about that too. But yeah, Greg, I mean, to answer your question, I think that, the price point of phones now is nearing really high-powered computers, certainly high-powered tablets. So I'm wondering at some point if your phone will then get to a point where you really don't need a tablet anymore, or you might not need a Chromebook anymore, right? Or those more lighter laptops. But really, you can do so much of just because, and you can see the price points getting to that point. So if we can have that much productivity, if like, let's say you had a digital keyboard, right? And then you had the other folding portion being your screen, I could see that being super convenient, kind of like back in the day when we had Blackberries, right? Or what's those like really phones with the little keyboards on it. Maybe that could come back with the phone.
Those. Yeah. Sorry.
So, I mean, that could.
I got excited.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, Greg. So the audience wants to know, how many phones do you currently have, Greg?
I've got, so I only have one hooked up to service, but I have, for testing purposes, I've got 3. So I've got a Samsung Galaxy 5G phone with me. I'm going to try to see what I've got here on the table with me. Oh, I have an iPhone XR in my pocket. I've got a Samsung Galaxy right here. And then I also have an older LG. I really liked LG. So I've got one of theirs as well that I test things on. Those are the ones that I would use for as far as testing out different applications. And then I've got a lot of old ones that I use for different purposes. Like one's just a music phone where if I drop it, I don't really care because it's okay. So it'll have just Spotify on it. So I find uses for the older ones. And then I've got a stack that I don't use.
I see. So you don't get rid of your old phones. You pretty much keep them. They're a collector now. Yeah.
I really shouldn't, but maybe someday it'll be a good display of old phone technology. I don't know what I'll do.
I know. You know how some people like collect their wine corks? You could have a display of old phones.
Old phones. Yeah. That's not quite as exciting as wine, but nonetheless. That's kind of it. Well, I mean, so you're talking though about these foldable phones and having different functions and making it more of a kind of utilitarian device. That actually is a good segue to talk about what's coming up later this week, because that's Microsoft now getting in with their announcement. And that's going to be happening on Wednesday. I believe it's 8 a.m. Pacific time when they're going to be having their Microsoft Surface event. And this is where they're going to be showing off not only a new laptop. I mean, this is speculation in quotation marks, but we pretty much know what we're going to be getting. There'll be a new laptop, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a minute. But as far as a phone, they have their Surface Duo 2 that's going to come out. So Microsoft came out with the Surface Duo. I think it was in end of 2019, I think is when they originally finally showcased it. They've been talking about it for a long time. And it's a phone that runs off of Windows software. It's got foldable, but they go with the full hinge in the middle. So they're not really trying to make the complete screen foldable. So it's in their terminology, more durable, I guess is what they're going for. But it's that idea of having multi-functions across that, where you can drag and drop things across the two different windows. You can set it up so it's kind of at a T shape and type on it, just like you were mentioning. You can play games on it. You can do all kinds of different things with it. And that's what they're going to be showcasing, is that new one where I guess they're going to be bringing in 5G. The USB-C port's going to move. I don't know if they'll still keep the headphone jack. That's a speculation on there. They may or may not get rid of that, but updated cameras. But that's part of what they're going to be announcing is a new phone along those lines.
Wow, very cool. I do hope they keep the headphone jack for now. I feel like it's sometimes when you're doing long calls, it's just really nice not have to worry about your battery life on your headset. Yeah. I don't think that battery life is there yet where we can completely alienate that port.
Totally. Yeah. And again, especially for traveling, right? Because when you're on the plane, you don't want to drain your battery, but you don't also want to listen to something. So, I mean, I guess you can Bluetooth it, but then you're also draining the Bluetooth battery. So yeah, I'm a fan of the headphone jack myself. I get why they want to get rid of it. It takes up a lot of space. We'll see.
I get all nervous when they take away ports and stuff. Greg, I wish they wouldn't do that. You know, it's kind of stressful. We need ports.
Right. We need more ports, less dongles. That's what I
Yes, absolutely. Because it looks all streamlined when it comes out of the box. But, you know, once you start utilizing it, you start putting all these dongles in and hubs in and everything. All of a sudden, it's looking kind of crazy. It doesn't look as portable as it was supposed to look on TV. What's up with that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's going to change, unfortunately. I think that's going to be still the way things go. But I don't know if anybody really likes that. There's maybe the advantages of it, of how much more you can pack into a device and make it sleeker and smaller. I understand the logic behind it. I still don't like it. I still want more.
Yeah. Cross-X Fighter is saying he likes the headphone jack too. Cross-X Fighter is definitely, I know Cross-X Fighter is a big gaming person, so probably that's also easier probably than to have Bluetooth, right? So Sadiq is saying he has 10 times the same phone.
Really?
Wow.
I wonder which phone that is. You have 10
well,
of
we
the
know
exact same version?
I don't know. Sadiq has shared with us that he's a big time Android user. So I guess 10 of those. Well, what I'm really interested to, though, Greg, is, so you said that you had an old LG phone. What makes this LG phone so special that you still keep it around?
I mean, it's not that old, but I like the LG functionality, even though they're getting out of the phone business. So it might be just more nostalgia, really, than anything else. But I use it because since it's not hooked up to phone service, I can use it for specific things. Like if I want a camera or just to film something, and it doesn't need to be, 4K, super high end, but something that I can take somewhere and just have it set up. Also, since it's not my usual phone, if something happens to it, it's not the end of the world. But I always liked LG's phones, and they're, for the most part, getting out of that business. They made that announcement. So I think it's more nostalgia than anything else that I'm holding on to it. That's I'm a phone nostalgia guy.
All right. We now established Greg is a phone collector.
No, I didn't. I never thought of myself that way, but now, saying it all out loud, I sound like a crazy person.
Can I suggest a different hobby? I suggest #money collecting.
I like that. Is a much better way, a much better thing. It's not a financially smart hobby that I've got. That's not I've enjoyed.
My good friend is joining us on Facebook Live. Is also #phone collector. Hello, Ivan. It is wonderful to see you. It's great to have you with us. And Sadiq says, I cannot the parts in the US and buy from eBay and replace them. Okay, Sadiq having problems because of like phone issues and parts and whatnot. I hear you. There's definitely some things that are parts are just hard to get to. So it is what it is, right?
Yep. Got to do what you got to do.
What I do. Yeah.
So you've got that. Just one other thing for the Surface event too. And again, that's coming up on Wednesday. Some new laptops. So this is some highly anticipated stuff. This new Surface Pro 8 is probably what we're going to be getting as one of the leading things for this event. So
Good looking.
Yeah, it's a good looking laptop. I've used a Surface Pro before. I've actually enjoyed using these things. It was an older one. I think it was a 6 is what I used to use. But the 8 is supposed to be getting Thunderbolt support, which on any Surface device, I guess, that they're going to offer Thunderbolt support, which if you use a lot of things, or especially cameras, like I need Thunderbolt for my stuff, that's good that you'll be having that. They may be getting rid of USB-A ports altogether on there. Not surprised. I think USB-A
again, getting rid of ports.
Yeah, I know. I think the dongle for the USB-C to USB-A adapter is going to be something we're all going to have to live with for the next few years till all the A devices are gone.
Right.
Like if you're still using them, that's, I think that's
I
just
haven't had a USB-A. I don't think I've had one of those in a really long time. I feel like we've been USB-C for a bit. Is it going to be like DEF? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, there'll be updates. There's some new USB-C protocols. I think the actual port should stay the same. I think everybody's realizing we're all getting tired of that. So I don't know if maybe there's some time where that will change, or we just go wireless. That may be the next iteration, where we're using 5G or advanced Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and we just get rid of ports altogether. That's probably what the ultimate thing will be once it's fast enough and connects seamlessly to everything. I bet we eventually get rid of all ports. I is my guess that somewhere down the line that'll happen.
All right. Well, then no more ports for you.
No more ports. They're taking our ports away.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Cross-Tech Spider is hoping that these laptops have tons of storage, because right now we're seeing a lot of colors. We're seeing this pencil pen type of thing, but storage obviously a big issue, especially when you're looking at a laptop or a device that's so thin. That's always a concern, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure what these will end up being. I mean, we saw, the iPhone coming out with a terabyte size iPhone. I would imagine there's going to be some upgrading you can do. Although one thing with these, from what I was reading, is that you'll have some exchangeable SSD drives, so you could actually exchange them out. So if you have multiple SSDs, you can drop them in and out. So that would be one way to kind of get around some of that. Because if you're making, especially if you're working in any kind of video, I mean, the higher
we could not survive on one of these devices, I'm sure.
No, I mean, I have to have an external SSD that's a terabyte just to actually render, just to handle, basic video production. And even that's not enough. I need other ones to back that stuff onto. So we have multiple 3 terabyte drives just to get all the footage that we do. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just to store all that stuff. I mean, and eventually maybe you'll be able to store it all online. I mean, you could now, but that gets pricey as well. So that is a conundrum. I think storage is always going to be a conundrum for quite a while.
Well, that's big money in storage, Greg.
There really is. There
really is.
That's a good business that they got themselves into there.
That's right.
So a bunch of service stuff, probably more previews of a little bit more look at Windows 11 as well. Windows 11 update is supposed to drop on October 5th. So anybody who's using a PC, you could have got it right now anyway in beta. So it's not like it's a big secretive thing, but it will start rolling out October 5th. And so that's going to be when you can update your computer and start using some of those features as well. So some cool stuff coming up for Microsoft users. It's not as exciting or glamorous as Apple. I feel like, Apple's
you didn't tell me the Microsoft version of FaceTime update. You didn't tell me that part.
Oh, Microsoft Teams. Yeah. I'll keep the Teams comment to myself. I mean, I know Teams is very good, and I like Microsoft a lot. I've had to go to work on Teams before, and I'll say when it first came out, it was not the best experience. I'm sure they've improved it a ton since then. I'll be very
politically correct there.
Very politically correct about that. Yeah, I'm sure they've made some vast improvements, and it'll work great with Windows 11.
Let me just say, I'll say this. I hope they improve the Skype platform. Because I think that's an area that definitely needs to be improved, right? Skype personal, Skype business. It just feels to be very wonky.
Yeah, and it always has been too. I was an early adopter of Skype, because when it first came out, they were really one of the best platforms for doing video or just having an online phone number and all that stuff you could do with it. I mean, they were really ahead of their times, and then Microsoft, got them, and it doesn't feel like things have really. They've been passed by on a lot of features on that, because it's that wonkiness. It really is.
Yeah.
It's the wonkiness of that. It just never really quite did what it's supposed to do. So maybe they've got some improvements on that.
Maybe. Let's hope.
Or maybe they'll end up buying Zoom and just skipping. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? Stranger things are who knows these days? Like, we just keep getting surprises.
Yeah. But regardless, Microsoft with that new stuff, the hardware does look really, really cool that they've got coming out. So that'll be cool. That's on Wednesday. I did have a couple other things that came out just in tech. And I know we're on a Monday, but it was kind of cool to see some good things that were happening at the end of the week and now rolling into Monday that I feel like people should know about. And this one is in particular for those people out there who, and I don't know if you're watching this show from a rural connection right now, but there are a lot of people all over the world, but definitely here in the US as well, where rural connectivity for the internet is still spotty, if even there at best. Like it's really difficult where you don't have hardwired lines coming out. You have to rely on satellite technology that's there right now, which is not the greatest. And so connectivity has been a big, big problem, and really highlighted during this pandemic when we all have to be online. Think about some of the kids too that are out in rural situations that couldn't get internet access. Like that was tough. And I'm sure still is tough for them. So this is something that could mitigate some of those concerns. And this has to do with Starlink. And people may be familiar with Starlink at this point. If you're not, it's another one of Elon Musk's companies. It utilizes all those SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets that you see going up, where they're putting satellites into space. A good majority of those are their own satellites, Starlink satellites. And there's a reason that they're doing this. And the goal of the company, the goal of Starlink, is to basically encompass the globe in a mesh satellite network, so you can pick up internet wherever you are, as long as you have one of their devices. Yeah, and that's really, really cool. And there's beta testers out there right now who have been trying it out. And so far, it's a little bit of mixed results, but they're just getting started. Eventually, you're going to be able to get a gigabyte, though, per second speed is what they think, which is on par with about what you can get in a city. I mean, maybe it's not quite up to that, like 10 gigs per second, but it's certainly better than nothing. A gig per second can change some lives for people out in the middle of nowhere. And they're, according to Elon Musk, they're going to go out of beta in October here. So coming up soon. And that means that a lot more people are going to be able to get it. They've ramped up production on their receivers. So you do have to buy a receiver from them. That's $500. So it's a bit of a price to get into it. And then the service, I believe, is $99 a month. And they want to kind of keep it at that, or just at one price, not a bunch of tiers or anything. It's just you pay for it, you get the best they can give. And again, so far the results have been pretty, spotty depending on where you're at. They're still putting the satellites in orbit. There's a lot of them that they need to put up. There's over 1,000 now, and they have, I believe, the FCC license right now is up to 13 or 14,000, and then they could add another like 20,000 on top of that. That's a lot of satellites. But the reason this is better than the satellite internet now is these are way lower in orbit. So these things are much closer, and there's so many of them, they can ping off of one another. And that's why they're saying you're going to get low latency, you're going to get faster speeds, and it's going to fix a lot of those issues that people have right now.
So, Elon's just creating more excuses for us to buy everything Elon Musk. Yeah. It's really competition now between him and Bezos. And it seems like he's even selling all his property here in the United States to move to outer space. So, who knows? I think it would have been cool. Like, it's great. This might be like the first rendition of Starlink. And maybe eventually one of the things I'd love to see is, having that portability of, consistent Wi-Fi internet access wherever you are, right? So you don't have to take your $500 device machine with you if you're driving on your way to Alaska, where there's these dead zones, right? So who knows? I'm guessing that's just going to come in the next couple of years anyway.
Yeah, they're working on it. I believe they have some patents. They're working on something for that kind of thing, for like long haul truck drivers, and to start off with like bigger vehicles, RVs. And bigger things like that. But yeah, portability is something that's down the pipeline. I think I agree with you. Eventually, just having it right there in your vehicle, you combine that with 5G, we'd have connectivity everywhere. And
that'd be great.
A way to turn it off if you want to disconnect. But yeah, that's I think where we're kind of heading. And again, for all the people that are out there in rural areas, my parents still live out in the country where I grew up, and their service is terrible out there. And there's no option. They don't have any other option to get service. So this kind of thing, I think, can be game changing for a lot of people.
Have you signed them up for Starlink?
I tried to sign up for a beta, but since I live in Portland, I wasn't able to. It's not offered here yet, but I did want to try it out. So we're going to see once this opens up. So this is what's going to happen. So right now you can put down a deposit. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get it right away. So it's still going to be a little while to roll out, but they're working on, since it comes out of beta, it will speed up the production process a lot faster. Maybe not by the end of this year, but maybe sometime next year. And it'll roll out and be available for more people. But yeah, I think they should definitely get it as soon as this comes out, because it's ridiculous how slow their speed is right now, and just what they live with. I'm like, God, there's a whole world you don't get to experience. Like I'll download stuff for them from my house and then drive it to them, because it's easier to do that than doing it the way that they have to do it. So
whatever works these days, whatever works. But yeah, it'd be really cool, because if you had this access not only at your home but on a mobile device, then it would be so nice to be able to not have to deal with, when you go to a different country, not having to get another device or another card or chip or whatever data plan for whatever country that you're in. And you could literally, that would really, I think, create more mobility and freedom, and probably more inclusivity for everybody who's struggling with just lackluster internet. And I think that would be good for just everybody in general. So awesome, Greg. That's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, just to see what happens there. So Starlink, something to be aware of. You can go there and try to put down a deposit right now if it's something you're interested in. Last thing that was trending again from the end of last week has to do with Boston Dynamics. And I'm sure we're all familiar with Boston Dynamics robot videos at this point, whether you find them fascinating or terrifying. And this one is with Hyundai, who actually, they're the new owners of Boston Dynamics. They're the ones who ended up purchasing the company. It bounced around to a few. Google owned them at one point. And this is a showcase of one of the ways they believe that the Spot robotic dogs can be helpful with giant manufacturing situations. They're using this in Korea, one of their production facilities, where these robots go around, and part of what they do is they look for safety risks. They have all of these high-end sensors on there, and that they can scan high temperatures. They can tell if maybe personnel are getting too close to something dangerous, if there's leaks or whatever. They can walk around and do these scans. They can do it autonomously, and then just alert you when something happens, or you can go in and remote control it. And the other part they're going to use it for is security, to basically walk around with security guards as an extra measure of security, or maybe walk around on their own, look for doors that are open. They don't have tasers attached or anything yet, although that's a discussion point of whether or not that's going to happen. But that's what they're doing here with this video, is kind of advertising it to this market that may be interested in something like this.
I love it. Well, I know sometimes, a lot of times when we're doing these shows, Greg, we have people writing in saying, where can I buy something like this? This is so cool, Greg, where I can get one. So what we did this time too, is if you're on Amazon Live with us, and if you're not, what we did, we shared the link. You can actually open another window if you're using your computer or whatnot, and you can see our Amazon. And we actually showed not quite this really cool dog, but we showed some dog robots, and they're really, really cute. And I guess they're pretty popular with kids. But, this is a type of thing. I think, Greg, there's a lot of issues about like the future of work. And there's a lot of jobs and responsibilities that people say, I just don't want to do that job anymore, especially now with COVID. So perhaps, robots can take over some of those duties. Like, for example, an all-nighter security system like you're showing now. Like, a lot of people want to go to sleep. And if a dog robot can go around checking for doors aren't locked, or people who shouldn't be there, and just photographing and another level of security, it sounds like a really good idea. And I imagine a lot of companies would consider adopting this as one of the ways to control costs, right? And also reduce liability. Probably not. This dog probably doesn't require that many benefits either, I'm guessing, besides the charge.
I don't think so. It's got to plug in at some point. That's I think about it. You don't even have to pet it. So I think you're right to a lot of that extent too, because the liability and just safety, if this can do some of those dangerous jobs, and that's where these things are also deployed right now. They're on like oil rigs or mining operations, different places where it's really dangerous for a human to go. The risk of danger is so high or harm that you can send this in. The robot could do some of that work, scan or take pictures or whatever it is that the job requires. And you don't have to have somebody risking personal safety or their life to do it. So that those applications I think are really, really important. I know though, also people have certainly security concerns and worry about an AI robot, being in, it's not weaponized right now, but there are big discussions about that online about what could be done with these. But this kind of application, that seems like a really good use case of that technology.
Yeah, Cross-X Fighter is saying a robotic dog. I'm not really sure. I think a lot of people see that.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating about this robotic dog, Greg, is the way it actually walks. Actually, reminds me of a dog. It's like, it's kind of crazy the way the legs are moving, and it's all crazy. But you're right. The whole threat of being able to use it as a weapon, I think it's reasonable to be a little nervous about that. So we'll see.
Yeah, there were, I believe it was the NYPD started using them and was going to purchase several of them, and they backed off due to public backlash about that, about the concerns about where we're at. Like, we're not ready for that kind of thing yet. So there's a lot of concerns on that end, but I think what they're showcasing is just how they can keep people safe at the same time. There's a balance in there somewhere, because robotics aren't going away, AI is not going away. Right. It's just how do we adapt that into our everyday lives? How do we adapt that into the workplace? What's the right way to go about it? And that's where everybody's just kind of testing the waters, I feel like, for a lot of it right now. And
I know. Imagine that thing walking down the sidewalk at your house, right? Going up and down the street. This would be like your new neighborhood watch. They'd be a little weird, but maybe, if it can keep crime off your streets, maybe we have to accept a little bit of weirdness. I don't know.
Yeah. There's, again, everything's a balance. There's got to be a balance in there somewhere. So we'll figure out what that is.
Yes. Hello, Michelle. I'm LinkedIn Live. It's awesome to see Michelle, my good friend Michelle. Hello. Greg, this is cool. We're gonna have to check this out. See, it's never a boring day when you share this kind of information with us. It'll be really cool to see what the price tag is for this guy too.
Oh yeah, I believe it's around $80,000. I think is what it is that you can get one of these, and then you can add on different things from there. They are available. You can buy them. $74,500 is where it starts out at. So if you want one for your backyard or to patrol your house, I guess you can go with that one.
It better do a lot more than walk around for $80,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's at least got to bring me a drink or something. At the end of
the paint the house. Clean the
the
windows.
Something. Mow the lawn. But that's where we're at with that. So just
all my taxes.
Definitely all of that. 100%. Yeah. Laundry. I mean, if it does everything, we could maybe get into talking about that. But that's what we've got. So just some cool stuff there to start the week off, and just more coming later this week. The Microsoft event will be pretty interesting to see what happens from that and what does come out, what the capabilities are of their new devices. And that's going to be, like I said, Wednesday. So when that happens, expect more stuff throughout this week, because we're really entering this time period in tech. You get kind of the doldrums during the summer where people don't release a lot of stuff, and now it's kicking off. You have Google Pixel coming up, Windows 11 that's going to be coming out. You've got whatever other thing that Apple has. So in this next month, Apple's expected to release another, maybe an updated MacBook. We don't know for sure, but there's going to be another Apple event. So pretty much every week, I feel like you're going to have some kind of new thing coming out, and all this leading up towards the end of the year. And then we'll get into televisions and all kinds of fun stuff. There's so much happening.
So basically, don't make your holiday shopping list just yet. There's still a lot of things that we're going to be sharing each and every week. So that's Greg's tip right now. We're going to watch and stay close, because there's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, it'll be really fun to see. And thank you so much for everybody joining us on different segments. I'm seeing a lot of people joining us on Amazon Live today, so it's always fun to see new friends here.
That is great. Yeah, thanks for, like when he said, thank you so much for being here with us and joining the show. We really love doing it and really love the interaction that everybody has. And as always, if you ever want to write us too, whether you're watching the show live or afterward, whenever, feel free to hit either of us up with questions. If you want to find out more info about any of these things I talked about, I can certainly share some more links or point you in the right direction. If you're in the market for a Boston Dynamics spot robot dog, I can probably point you to the right way. I cannot get you the $74,500. That's on you, but we can definitely help you out with that. So it's just fun. And we do this show every week. And thanks for, we're doing the show a little bit earlier this week. We've got some projects coming up later on. So we're here live on Monday, but I believe next week we're back to our Thursday time slot. If I'm correct on that.
We'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah. We'll let you know. Yeah.
We'll let you know, but it
Twitter,
should be.
and we will let you know when that is. Well, yeah, I think that's about it for today. So yeah, thank you everybody. Winnie, thank you so much. This is always so much fun.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. We love seeing all of you. We love seeing your comments. And there were so many great comments coming in today. But yes, as Greg mentioned, our direct messages are open on both our Twitter profiles or wherever you're joining us from. Jump in, say hello, like all our friends did today. And yeah, we'll wait for Greg. Greg will tell us when we will back next week, but we can't wait to see you. And again, and aren't you glad? I'm so glad, on a side note, that even after our sort of battle out of Apple versus Android, we've just become better friends through that process. See, phones can unite people.
The differences aside, the struggles that we've gone through. Yeah. No, definitely. I think everybody should watch that episode from last week.
You should watch the show.
It's fun.
You should watch the show. And not only that is, here's what I'm going to say this for those of you still with us right now. Okay, last week, Greg talked about the whole Apple announcement. This week, he talked about the whole Microsoft announcement. Notice the difference in tempo. Where was Greg more excited?
That is fair. Well, who knows what we'll have next week. That's why everybody needs to tune in. So there'll be something else. I guarantee there will be something else exciting that's happening next week.
There will.
Hit subscribe, share the show, hit us up. I think, that's it. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a wrap. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.